I always believed that taking care of your parents was the most sacred responsibility a child could have. For 5 years, I worked 2 jobs, sacrificed vacations, and lived in a tiny apartment just to build a retirement fund for my mom and dad. I never imagined that my sacrifice would become a tool for them to spoil my unemployed brother. One phone call from my mother, her voice bubbling with excitement about some big news, changed everything. What she told me that night shattered not just my trust, but the entire foundation of what I thought family meant. Before we dive into how my 5 years of sacrifice turned into the biggest betrayal of my life, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe, because this story will show you exactly what happens when good intentions meet entitlement. Now let me take you back to where it all started. I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio. My parents, Robert and Linda, were hardworking people who never really had the chance to build any real savings. Dad worked at a manufacturing plant for 30 years, and Mom was a receptionist at a dental office. They gave me and my younger brother Travis everything they could, but retirement planning was never something they thought about. When I graduated from college at 23 with a computer science degree and landed a solid job at a tech company in Seattle, I made myself a promise. I was going to create a safety net for them so they would never have to worry about money when they got older. Travis was different from me in every possible way. 3 years younger, he had dropped out of college after 1 semester and bounced between part-time jobs that never lasted more than a few months. By the time I was settling into my career in Seattle, Travis was back, living in our childhood home, sleeping until noon, and playing video games until 3 in the morning. Every time I called home, I would hear the same excuses from Mom. Travis just needs more time to find himself. He is figuring out his path. He will get there eventually. I tried to help Travis multiple times. I sent him job listings, offered to review his resume, even connected him with people in my network who might be hiring. He never followed through. When I visited home during holidays, I would find him sprawled on the couch, controller in hand, while Mom brought him snacks and Dad quietly paid his phone bill. It bothered me, but I told myself that was not my problem to solve. My focus was on securing my parents' future. The plan I created was simple, but required serious discipline. I was making decent money as a software engineer, around $75,000 a year, but Seattle was expensive. Instead of living the lifestyle my salary could afford, I chose sacrifice. I moved into a 400-square-foot studio apartment in a neighborhood most of my coworkers avoided. I cooked every single meal at home, packing lunches that my colleagues joked looked like prison food, while they grabbed $15 salads and $20 cocktails after work. I ate rice and beans and drank tap water. But that was not enough. I wanted to build this fund faster, so I started taking freelance projects. Every evening after my 9 to 5, I would spend 3 or 4 more hours coding for side clients. Weekends disappeared into a blur of deadlines and coffee. My girlfriend Amanda, who I had been dating for 2 years, understood what I was doing and supported me completely. She was a teacher making far less than me, but she helped however she could. We had date nights at home instead of restaurants. We watched movies on my laptop instead of going to theaters. We planned our future together, and part of that future included making sure my parents were taken care of. Every single month I transferred $2,000 into a separate savings account I had opened specifically for this purpose. I added my mother's name to the account so that in case of an emergency she could access the money immediately. It was meant to be their safety net, their cushion, their reward for all those years of hard work. After 5 long years of living like this, denying myself nearly everything, I had accumulated $120,000. It was not a fortune, but it was enough to give them a comfortable retirement, to help with medical bills, to make sure they did not have to work into their 70s. I had it all planned out. In 3 months, my dad was turning 65. I was going to fly home, take them out to a nice dinner, and present them with the bank statements. I imagined their faces, the tears in my mother's eyes, the pride in my father's voice. I had worked so hard for that moment. Every missed concert, every declined invitation, every lonely weekend spent coding, instead of living, had been building toward giving them the security they deserved. I remember the Friday night. It all came crashing down. I was sitting on my small couch, finally allowing myself to relax with a beer after finishing a particularly brutal freelance project when my phone rang. It was Mom, which was not unusual. We talked every week, but her tone was different this time. She sounded almost giddy, like she had won the lottery. "Mom, what is going on?" I asked, smiling despite my exhaustion. Her happiness was contagious even through the phone. "Oh, Dylan, honey, I have the most wonderful news," she said, practically singing the words. "Your brother just bought a house." I sat up straighter, confused. Travis bought a house. "Mom, how is that possible? He does not have a job." "Well, that is the beautiful part. Your father and I helped him. We used some of the savings to make it happen. Travis found this perfect little house. 3 bedrooms, nice yard, great neighborhood. It was only $105,000, and we were able to cover the down payment and closing costs for him. Isn't that exciting?" My beer suddenly tasted like acid. "Wait, what savings are you talking about?" "Oh, you know the account," Mom said casually, as if we were discussing grocery money. "The one you set up, the joint account with my name on it. Travis really needed this, Dylan. He is 25 years old and still living at home. This will give him independence, help him grow up. Your father and I thought you would be happy that your brother finally has his own place." The room started spinning. That account, the joint account, the $120,000 I had bled for over 5 years, gone. Used to buy my unemployed lazy brother a house he did not earn and could not afford. "Mom," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, "do you understand what that money was?" "Of course, sweetie. You set it up for the family, and Travis is family. This is a good thing." "No," I said louder now. "That money was for you and Dad, for your retirement. I worked 2 jobs for 5 years to save that. Every single dollar was supposed to be for you when you stopped working." There was a pause. Then Mom laughed. Actually laughed. "Dylan, you are being dramatic. You put the money in an account with my name on it. That means your father and I can use it how we see fit. And we decided our son needed a home. You make good money, you can save more. Travis needed help now." I felt something break inside my chest. Did Travis ask for this? "Well, he mentioned he was tired of living at home," Mom admitted. "And when your father and I saw that house listing, we just knew it was perfect for him. We surprised him with it last week. He was so happy, Dylan. You should have seen his face. Last week. They had done this a week ago, and were just now telling me." I pulled the phone away from my ear and opened my banking app with shaking hands. I navigated to the joint account. Balance $0.00. 5 years of sacrifice gone in a single transaction. "I need to go," I told Mom. "Wait. Aren't you happy for your brother? You should come home and see the house. It really is lovely." I hung up without responding. For a long moment I just sat there staring at that 0 balance. Then I called Amanda. She answered on the second ring, heard the tone of my voice, and immediately asked what was wrong. When I told her, she was silent for a full 10 seconds. "Dylan," she finally said, her voice tight with anger, "you need to get that money back. Call them right now and tell them to return it." But I knew even as she said it that the money was gone. You cannot return a down payment on a house. The deal was done. Travis owned a home bought with my parents' retirement fund, the fund I had built one exhausted evening at a time. I did not sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every sacrifice. Every time I had eaten instant ramen so I could save an extra $50. Every weekend I had worked instead of going to the beach with Amanda. Every birthday, every holiday, where I had given modest gifts, because I was funneling everything into that account. And my parents had taken it all and handed it to my brother, who had spent the last 5 years playing video games and living rent-free. The next morning I called the bank. I spoke to 3 different representatives explaining the situation. They all told me the same thing. Since my mother's name was on the account, she had every legal right to withdraw the money. There was nothing I could do. When I asked if I could see the withdrawal record, they confirmed it. $120,000 withdrawn 2 weeks ago, transferred directly to a title company for the purchase of a property. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop staring at that confirmation. 2 weeks. My mother had waited 2 weeks to tell me. They had known I would be upset, so they had completed the entire transaction first, making it irreversible before breaking the news. I booked a flight to Columbus for that weekend. Amanda insisted on coming with me. "I need to be there for you," she said. "And honestly, I do not trust you not to say something you will regret if you are alone." The flight felt endless. I kept imagining the conversation, rehearsing what I would say. But every version ended with me either crying or screaming, and I did not want to do either. I wanted to be calm, clear, and final. When we arrived at my parents' house Saturday afternoon, Travis's truck was in the driveway. Of course he was there, probably showing off, basking in his unearned victory. I walked through the front door without knocking. I had grown up in this house. I did not need permission to enter. Travis was sitting at the kitchen table, eating a sandwich Mom had made for him. He looked up when I walked in, and for just a second, I saw something flicker across his face. Guilt, maybe, or fear. But it disappeared, quickly replaced by his usual smug expression. "Hey bro," he said, mouthful. "Heard you were coming." "Want to see pictures of the house?" I ignored him and looked at my parents. Dad was in his recliner pretending to read the newspaper. Mom was at the sink, her back to me. "We need to talk," I said. "Now. Just the three of us." Travis stood up. "I'm part of this family too." "Sit down, Travis," I said, my voice ice cold. "This doesn't concern you. You already got what you wanted." Mom turned around, her expression worried now. She had probably expected me to be upset, but she was reading my face and realizing this was worse than she had imagined. "Dylan, honey, let's all just calm down and talk about this reasonably." Amanda touched my arm gently, a reminder to stay controlled. I took a deep breath and looked at my father. "Dad, do you understand what that money was for?" He folded his newspaper slowly, not meeting my eyes. "You left it for the family. We used it for family." "No," I said. "I left it specifically for you and Mom, for your retirement. I told you that when I opened the account. I worked myself to exhaustion for 5 years to build that fund, so you wouldn't have to worry about money when you stopped working. And you took every single dollar and gave it to him." I pointed at Travis, who had the audacity to look offended. "Travis needed help," Mom said, her voice taking on that defensive tone she always used when discussing my brother. "He is our son, too. You make good money, Dylan. You can save more. Travis needed this opportunity." "Opportunity," I repeated, my voice rising despite my efforts. "He is 25 years old and hasn't held a steady job in his entire adult life. He lives in your house rent-free, doesn't pay for food, doesn't contribute anything. And you rewarded that by buying him a house with my money." "It wasn't your money," Dad said quietly. "You put it in a joint account with your mother's name. Legally, it was hers to use as she saw fit. There it was, the legal argument. They had used my trust against me. I had put Mom's name on that account because I trusted her, because I wanted her to have access in case of emergency, and she had abused that trust to fund my brother's lifestyle." Travis pushed his chair back and stood up. "You know what your problem is, Dylan. You think you are better than everyone else. You think because you went to college and got some fancy job, you're the only one who matters in this family. I'm your brother. I deserve help too." Something inside me snapped. "You deserve nothing," I said, my voice deadly calm now. "You have spent your entire adult life being a parasite. You live off Mom and Dad, contribute zero, and now you have stolen 5 years of my life. That money represented every sacrifice I made. Every night I worked until midnight. Every weekend I coded instead of having a life. Every dollar I didn't spend on myself, so I could give our parents a comfortable retirement. And you took it all like you're entitled to it." "Boys, please," Mom started, but I cut her off. "Do you know what I gave up for that money?" I asked, looking between my parents. "I lived in a studio apartment the size of a closet. I haven't taken a real vacation in 5 years. Amanda and I have postponed our wedding because I was saving every penny for you. And you gave it all to the son who has never worked for anything in his life. Your father and I didn't know you were making such sacrifices, Mom said weakly. You never told us it was that hard for you. I shouldn't have had to tell you, I said. You should have asked. You should have cared enough to understand what that money represented before you handed it over to him. Travis stepped closer, his jaw tight. So what are you going to do about it? Cry, complain. The money spent, the house is mine, and you can't do anything about it. He was right about one thing. The money was gone, and I could not get it back. But there was something I could do. I turned to my parents. Here's what's going to happen. I'm done. Completely done. I will never give you another cent for anything. No more helping with bills. No more emergency money. No more retirement fund. Nothing. Dylan, you don't mean that, Mom said, her voice shaking now. Yes, I do. I've been covering your cell phone bills for 3 years. That ends today. I have been paying for Dad's car insurance. That ends today. I send you $500 every month to help with expenses. That ends right now. You wanted to use my retirement fund for Travis Fine, but that means you're on your own from this point forward. Dad stood up, his face reddening. You would abandon your parents over money. You abandoned 5 years of my sacrifice for a son who has done nothing to deserve it. I shot back. I gave you a future, and you traded it for a house that Travis won't even be able to afford the mortgage on. So yes, I am done. You made your choice. I am making mine. Mom started crying. We're your parents. You can't just cut us off. Watch me, I said. And when Travis can't make his mortgage payments, and you have to bail him out month after month, remember that you chose this. Remember that you had a son who would have taken care of you forever, and you threw that away. I turned and walked toward the door. Amanda followed immediately. Travis called after me, his voice mocking. Go ahead and leave. We don't need you anyway. I will take care of Mom and Dad. I stopped at the door and looked back at him. You can't even take care of yourself, Travis. Good luck taking care of anyone else. The months that followed were harder than I expected, but not because I regretted my decision. I kept my word. I canceled the cell phone plan I had been paying for. I removed myself from Dad's car insurance. I stopped the monthly transfers. My parents called constantly at first. Mom would leave tearful voicemails about how hurt she was, how family was supposed to forgive and move on. Dad left angry messages about responsibility and respect. I did not respond to any of them. Amanda was my anchor during this time. She never once suggested I was being too harsh or that I should reconsider. This is about respect, she told me one night, as we sat on my couch, her head on my shoulder. They disrespected everything you did for them. You have every right to protect yourself. About 2 months after I cut them off, I got a call from my mom's sister, Aunt Patricia. She lived in Cleveland and was not particularly close to my parents, but she had heard about what happened. Dylan, she said, her tone. Careful. I want you to know, I think what your parents did was terrible. Your mother called me crying about money troubles. And when she explained why you stopped helping, I told her she brought this on herself. It felt good to hear someone from the family acknowledge that I was not the villain here. But Patricia had more to say. I think you should know your father is talking about having to push back his retirement. He was supposed to stop working next year, but now he is saying he needs to keep going. And your mother picked up extra hours at the dental office. I felt a twist of something uncomfortable in my chest, but I pushed it away. That's their problem to solve. 3 months after I left Ohio, Travis called me for the first time. I almost did not answer, but curiosity got the better of me. What do you want? I asked coldly. Look, he said, and I could hear something I had never heard in his voice before. Uncertainty, maybe even fear. I need to talk to you about something. The mortgage on the house, it is more than I thought it would be. I am having trouble making the payments. Get a job, I said. I'm trying, but nobody is hiring right now and I don't have much experience. Mom and Dad have been helping me, but they're saying they can't keep doing it. Then, sell the house. I can't sell it. I just bought it. Besides, I would lose money. The market isn't great right now, and I would barely break even after paying the realtor and everything else. I felt zero sympathy. Travis, you took $120,000 that was meant for our parents' retirement. That was money I bled for. And now you are calling me because you can't afford the house that money bought. What exactly do you think I'm going to do about it? I thought maybe you could help. Just for a few months until I get on my feet. I laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Help you? After what you did? Never going to happen. You made this mess. You figure it out. Come on, man. We are brothers. No, I said. Brothers have each other's backs. You stabbed me in mine. Lose my number, Travis. I hung up and blocked his contact. Amanda looked at me from across the room, her expression a mix of pride and concern. You. Okay. Yeah, I said. I really am. 6 months after I cut them off, Aunt Patricia called again. Dylan, I think you need to know what is happening. Your parents had to sell their house. The mortgage, the bills helping Travis with his payments, it all became too much. They could not keep up. My stomach dropped. What? They sold the house last month. They are living with Travis now in the house they bought for him. But from what I hear, it is not going well. Travis still is not working full-time, so they are covering most of the expenses there too. Your father is working overtime at the plant, and he is 65 years old. Your mother is exhausted all the time. Did they ask you to call me? I asked Patricia. No, she said. They're too proud for that. But Dylan, they're suffering. I know what they did was wrong, but they're still your parents. And I was still their son, I said. The son who sacrificed everything for them. They made their choice. I have made mine. After that call, I expected to feel guilty, but I did not. I felt free. For the first time in years, I was living for myself. Amanda and I started making real plans for our future. We looked at apartments together, bigger places, where we could actually spread out. We went on our first real vacation in years, a week in Hawaii, where I did not check my work email once. I started saving again, but this time the money was for us, for our wedding, for the life we wanted to build together. One evening, about 10 months after everything had happened, Amanda and I were cooking dinner together in my small kitchen. She was chopping vegetables while I stirred pasta sauce, and she asked me something I had been thinking about a lot lately. Do you think you will ever talk to them again? I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe someday. But it would have to be on very different terms. They would have to actually understand what they did and why it was wrong. And I don't think they're there yet. Do you miss them? I miss who I thought they were, I said. I miss believing that my sacrifices mattered to them. But the people who took that money and gave it to Travis without even asking me, I don't miss them at all. Amanda put down her knife and hugged me from behind. I am proud of you, she said softly. I know this has been hard, but you stood up for yourself. You set boundaries. That takes real strength. I turned around and kissed her forehead. I could not have done it without you. About a year after I walked out of my parents' house, I heard through Patricia that Travis had finally gotten a job. It was not much just working at a warehouse, but it was something. Apparently, the reality of having to support himself with Mom and Dad, unable to cover his expenses anymore, had finally forced him to grow up a little. Patricia also mentioned that my parents were still struggling financially, still working jobs they should have retired, from still living in Travis's house and covering most of the bills there. I wish I could say that hearing this made me want to reach out to help to fix things. But it did not. They had been given a gift, a genuine sacrifice from someone who loved them, and they had squandered it on the child who had never done anything to earn their support. That was their choice, and these were the consequences. What I did feel was peace. Not the peace of revenge or vindication, but the peace of knowing I had set appropriate boundaries. I had loved my parents enough to sacrifice for them, but I also loved myself enough to walk away when that love was not respected. Amanda and I got engaged that year, and we started planning a wedding that I could actually afford because I was not sending money to people who did not value it. Sometimes people ask me if I think I was too harsh. They say family is family and you should always forgive. But I learned something important through all of this. Forgiveness does not mean allowing people to continue hurting you. It does not mean pretending that what happened was okay. Real love, the kind that lasts, requires respect. It requires seeing the other person's sacrifices and honoring them, not taking advantage of them. My parents loved Travis more than they respected me. They loved the idea of helping their struggling son more than they valued the 5 years of my life I had given them. And when given the choice between my future and Travis's comfort, they chose Travis without hesitation. That told me everything I needed to know about where I stood in their priorities. I heard recently that Dad finally retired, but not the retirement I had envisioned for him. He is not traveling or enjoying his golden years. He is living in his younger son's house, still helping pay the bills because Travis can barely make ends meet even with a job. Mom is still working part-time because they need the extra income. The $120,000 that could have set them up comfortably is locked in a house that Travis cannot afford to maintain in a life that none of them seem happy with. Do I feel bad about that? Sometimes in quiet moments I feel a pang of sadness for what could have been. But then I remember that I offered them something beautiful, something built on years of love and sacrifice, and they chose to throw it away. I cannot save people from their own choices. What I can do is build a life with Amanda, a life where we respect each other's sacrifices and support each other's dreams, where we make decisions together and value what we have worked for. That is the family I am choosing to invest in now, the family I am creating, not the one I was born into. Sometimes, love means giving everything you have, and sometimes it means knowing when to stop giving, when to walk away, when to let people face the consequences of their own choices. It took me losing $120,000 and a relationship with my parents to learn that lesson, but it might be the most valuable thing I have ever learned. Because at the end of the day, you cannot save someone who does not value your sacrifice. You cannot build someone else's future if they are determined to sabotage it. All you can do is protect your own heart, set your own boundaries, and build a life with people who actually respect what you bring to the table. My parents chose Travis, and in doing so they freed me to choose myself, and I am finally genuinely okay with that. So I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family, even when it hurt? Have you ever walked away from people you loved because they didn't respect your sacrifices? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if this story resonated with you, and subscribe for more real-life stories about standing up for yourself and finding peace. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it is okay to put themselves first sometimes. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it reminds you that protecting your peace is not selfish. It is necessary. Take care of yourself out there, because sometimes the people who are supposed to take care of you won't. And that is okay. You have got this.